Wrestlers unite. Guys, we've had this talk before. But we now have a representative. It's Bo Nickal. And one thing that we don't do great is the wrestling community. And by the way, I don't want to push anyone else out. I want everybody to come around this Bo thing. I just want you to understand what's happening. But very specifically, wrestling is deemed as a niche sport. It's deemed as very small. That isn't true. There are enough people out there that touch the wrestling community. Whether they wrestled, their granddad wrestled, their child wrestles, they like to go catch matches, there's enough of them out there to do a sustainable business. The problem with wrestling is we part. We don't stay loyal. We don't come back. We don't come and celebrate. Our careers were so darn hard. There was such sacrifice. And almost everybody leaves looking at their own career as a failure. I wanted to be the champion. I wanted to be the Olympic gold medalist. I didn't do that. I have failed. It's a very interesting thing in wrestling. I know guys who are depressed and have even had to get counseling who are Olympic silver medalists. They truly feel that way. It was a fail. So it's one of these things where when people get done wrestling, they don't always come back. I want everybody to come back for Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal is now representing your community, and he is the leader. He is the leading representative anywhere in combat. It's happened before. I can go back to when Henry Cejudo got in. I can fast forward to when Ben Askren got in. We've had times where wrestlers have come forward. But guys, if you go back to the 90s, wrestling didn't even know they were a martial art. We didn't know we were tough guys. We didn't know we had skills. I'd wrestled my whole life. I never thought of myself as that. I would quickly cower to somebody somewhere thinking they were bigger or stronger. The guy had a tattoo, and I thought that's how it worked. I mean, right, there was just these times in our life that a guy named Dan Severn gets into something called the UFC, pushes Royce Gracie further than everybody did, and he's using skills that I happen to possess. And when I say, man, the base of wrestling. So we found out a little bit late, and we're very proud of it. We're really proud. We're really starting to get some respect. We're getting some street cred. People started to look at us different. It was a very exciting thing. But then comes the turn of the century, and it wouldn't matter how good you were at wrestling. If that's all you were good at, you did not have a spot on the roster. So wrestling started getting a little way. Now, everybody did respect it. It wouldn't matter if you're Israel Adesanya, who has simply never used wrestling in any contest and doesn't even have a vision to use wrestling. He practices wrestling. He respects it. He understands it. But I'm only sharing that it is now a piece, just like the boxing, just like a kickboxing, just like the grappling and jiu-jitsu aspects. It's just a piece. It's not a dominant art. So then you get a guy like Bo Nickal, who has a chance to put us back on the map. He has a chance to go out there and show that that grit and grind and that competitive spirit is very important that we get behind him. Not to mention, I know Bo. He's not going to let you down. Some guys do. I'm not talking about wins and losses. He's not going to let you down. You're going to be scrolling TMZ one day and all of a sudden somebody's in handcuffs. It's just not like that. You got a good guy here. You got the right guy. I just want you to understand that he really is doing it for us. There is a lot on his shoulders. He's not out jet setting and flying around getting these huge paychecks. It's nothing like that. Not to mention, no matter how much they will pay Bo in his career, if you went ahead and averaged that out to every competition that Bo's had, you got to understand, this young man has never competed less than 40 times in a calendar year. Never. Since he was 9 years old. He's now 24, 25. I mean, you go do the math. You're about hundreds and even approaching 1,000 matches at zero. It wouldn't matter what they get. I don't want the jealousy side to come in. That's what I don't want to come in. I don't want people to go, why am I elevating Bo? Why are we just raising up Bo? What about me? No, he's doing it for you and you're missing it. And he's taking some very big risks. Now, he was on the Contender Series last night. This was purely due to propaganda, media sensation, potential, and expectation. That is awesome. It's just a hard deal to get. Aaron Pico was the hottest prospect that I had ever personally seen. In the history of our sport, when Aaron Pico stepped into the Bellator cage, nobody went in with more pressure and more expectation. Bo has probably not exceeded that, but he's right there on this page. He goes into a Dana White Contender Series. He'd only had one professional bout. He had the 1,000 amateur bouts I talked about. In one professional bout, he's headlining the Contender Series in front of the boss. There is a respect put on that. There's a pressure, but there is most definitely an appreciation as to what you have accomplished and what your potential is to do that. He didn't get the contract and he won. He gets put in the feature match He goes out and wins. It's absolutely dominant. He was never hit. He put the guy away. He did it all in a matter of minutes, and he doesn't get a contract. Is there anybody else in the history of the Contender Series that you could say that about? Was not even touched. Got a finish. Did great ratings. And didn't get picked up. Well, article came out. Said Bo Nickal snubbed. Now, I just want to explain to you guys what you're seeing here. You live in a world where perception is reality. And the perception, which has become the reality, is that fighters are nothing more than whores. And they will go to the highest bidder. Whoever the promoter is that gets behind you that's got more commas and zeros, that's where you go. That largely is the reality. I'm only sharing for you. That is not what the spirit should be or was ever meant to be. When you have a promoter, you have somebody that's going to build you. That's what promote means. Promote means to go up. To get you more eyes, more opportunities, more attention, which you then can turn into a career. You can find a way to monetize. It's not just that guy writing the check like he's your dad. That's not what it is. A promoter is somebody that believes in you, knows who you are, and is going to promote you, going to bring you up. So Bo Nickal, with his promoter of Dana White, on day one, with only one match experience professionally, went into a main event of a major broadcast. That's promoting. Now, if that promoter truly cares about you, he truly sees something, he's factored in all the math all the way down to your age, representing a potential shelf life. If he does that, he's not going to throw a bunch of zeros and commas at you. He's going to throw an opportunity at you. That is the true job of the promoter. It has been corrupted through money, and I'm not against the guys that go and chase the money, by the way. I'm one of those guys. I'm sharing with you the spirit. And what was being viewed as a snub to Bo was a calculated and professional, not to mention appropriate decision. Hey, I saw what you did. I don't dispute any of the numbers. I don't dispute that you were never touched. You were never taken down. You were never punched. You were never kicked. I don't dispute that you got dominant position. I don't dispute that you found a finish and you did it all in a very impressive fashion with a lot of pressure on you. I don't dispute that. But I've seen a lot of guys. And you're not ready yet. I have a level where I can look after you right now. But once I put you in the locker room with these other killers, is protect yourself at all times. So while I right now have an ability, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you one more match. I'm going to promote you. Because now I've just given you a story. You are a main event now. I'm bringing you back under a very special clause, which is that you win no matter how you look. I tell everybody they've got to look a certain way, they have to perform a certain way. I'm going to take that from you. All you have to do is win. But if you come back and do this a second time, which isn't generally how it's done, I'll lessen what the performance needs to be, and I'll make you a deal in advance. That's awesome. That's promotion. What Dana White did for Bo Nickal last night is why you trust a guy with your career in the first place. It was one of the great moves of the Contender Series. It was extremely responsible because I also saw what Dana saw. I see a world champion there at some point. I see a dominant best fighter in the world with the belt, headlining pay-per-views at some point. And if you can get him a little bit more experience, not to mention the pressure, I mean, this is a very real thing. Now, for Bo Nickal, he may not have felt it. He's in a crowd. There's not a whole bunch of people there. He probably got his mom and dad somewhere in there. He wants to go out and win. Opportunity. If you followed Bo Nickal's career, when he's walked out in front of 17,000 people live on ESPN to wrestle for a championship, of which comes with eligibility, which means it doesn't matter where his skills are in comparison to everybody else. He also has to meet parameters. They are going to one day take his eligibility. It will not matter if he's better than everybody else. He will not even have the opportunity to compete. I mean, that's pressure, and he did that multiple times. But to put him in one of these environments and to call it a snub, it's just not how I saw it. There's a lot of really good things that comes from fighting. Like, by example, you might look at Bo's fight last night and go, well, he didn't get any better. How could he? He had nothing happen to him. There was no adversity. He didn't even warm his lungs up. He wasn't hit. We don't know how he can deal with stuff. He didn't have a southpaw. There was nothing. I mean, you can do that, but you're missing where the experience comes from. You'll see a guy that was retired or he was on a break. He comes back. He goes out there. He fights. He looks terrible, and he was only out there for 2 minutes, and he goes, no, hey, I'm ready. I got the rust off. What is that? 2 minutes out there and you look bad. What do you mean you're ready? Well, there's other things that come with it, guys. Going through the training camp, getting the paperwork done, making the flight, making the weigh-in, going through that process. Getting up in a hotel room that's quiet and alone when you don't have support. You're about to go into a sporting event. The only sport in the world that is not predicated upon point discrepancy. It is predicated on damage. That person is here to damage you. I mean, that's very tough language. And when you go through those experiences, that's where you get better. That's where you start to get that shine. What happened to Bo Nickal last night was awesome. And the responsibility that his promoter put into him, not commas and zeros, the responsibility, and the elevation. Don't forget what promote means. People think promote means I'm on a billboard. People think promote means I'm in Times Square. Promote just means to elevate. That's all it means. You get a promotion at work, you get a promotion anywhere, you elevate. Bo Nickal is now elevated. His promoter did not stump him. His promoter did his job.